Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We're still working on King John, and today we get to hear from a character who in most versions of the play is known as Queen Elinor, the mother to King John, but in the actual folio is just called Old Queen at this moment, which is mildly offensive, but whatever. We are still in what the folio calls Act 1, Scene 2, but a lot of other versions of the play call Act 2, Scene 1, and we are in France, and they tried to fight a war. Well, they were coming to fight a war, but then they couldn't settle it, so they wanted the people to settle it, and they couldn't do it, so they went outside the gates to try to fight, and there wasn't a clear winner. So Philip was like, well, why don't you just destroy the city, and then we'll figure out who's supposed to be king. And then Hubert, the citizen, was like, slow your roll, we're gonna figure this out. What if Lady Blanche marries Louis the Dauphin, and then England and France come together in a marriage, and if you do that, then we'll open our city gates and welcome you in. And Philip the Bastard had an aside yesterday where he's like, Hubert said this? Like the Hubert is coming up with this idea. He's telling royal people, like, what even is going on here? This makes no sense. But today, that was like an aside that he had. And today we have Queen Elinor saying to her son, King John, son, list to this conjunction, make this match. Give with our niece a dowry large enough, for by this knot thou shalt so surely tie thy now unsured assurance to the crown, that yon green boy shall have no son to ripe the bloom that promiseth a mighty fruit. I see a yielding in the looks of France. Mark how they whisper. Urge them while their souls are capable of this ambition, lest zeal now melted by the windy breath of soft petitions, pity and remorse cool and congeal again to what it was. So Queen Elinor buys into it too. She thinks that this is a good idea, that Lady Blanche and Louis the Dauphin should marry. And it's because she knows in her heart of hearts that Arthur has the better claim to the crown than King John does. But I think she feels like she can manipulate King John better than she'd be able to manipulate Arthur, because Arthur's mom is Constance, who's a bit of a handful. And they'd been sniping at each other earlier in the scene, saying your mother was a hamster and your father smelled of elderberries and all the insults in between. So Queen Elinor takes this moment to tell King John that yes, he should make this match happen. So while we've had these couple of asides going on, Hubert is like, why aren't the kings saying anything? And then France is like, well, England has been speaking first in everything else, so why doesn't England speak first in this? And King John is like, well, I guess, like, Louis, could you love her? And Louis is like, yeah, absolutely, she's gorgeous. And then King John is like, Lady Blanche, could you love him? And she's like, I'm gonna do whatever you tell me to because you're my king and that's my job. So they decide that yes, these two will get married. And then France is like, where's Lady Constance? She's probably not gonna like how this whole thing turned out, because still Arthur doesn't get to be king. This still makes it even harder for Arthur to put in a claim that he should be king if this marriage goes through. And they're like, we'll give Arthur a dukedom or something like that, and that'll be fine. Like, send a message to Constance and everything will be great. But then we get to hear, like, everybody leaves except for Philip the Bastard, who, being the bastard that he is in more ways than one, gets to share with us, the audience, his true thoughts on what all of this means and what all of this portends. We get to hear all of that tomorrow as we finish up Act 1, Scene 2, Act 2, Scene 1, depending on which version of the script you're actually looking at. So yeah, tomorrow we get some more Philip commentary and it'll be fun. But in the meantime, Blanche and Louis are getting married to unite England and France, and they're all welcome in Angiers. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow for more. Mwah.